Hello everybody, my name is Bill, and you are watching me do qualifying for the August 10th Pat's Acres Racing Complex Super Series event. This is actually the fourth event of the year, but only the third event that I was able to attend. I actually missed the first event. And this is the first one for which I had a GoPro, where I could actually capture some footage. Now this first lap, I'm not actually racing all that hard. This first lap is usually more about tire warming than it is actual pace. But unusually, the second lap, this lap coming up, is where I got my best time, which is odd for me. It usually takes about the second half of a session before I really wrap my head around how a kart wants to be driven. They all have their own personalities, but I'm just going to let you watch this lap quietly, and we'll pick up after. So that was the fastest lap of the session, and I have to say, it looked okay. It didn't look great, and that's reflected, I think, in the lap time. But a 51.97 was not great. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great. And in fact, I ended up qualifying 9th. The previous time, the previous session, I qualified 3rd. So 9th is not a great showing for me. I think I'm kind of shaking out as a pretty solid midfield driver. I'm really not hanging out at the front of the pack a lot lately. That was really scruffy right there. I got way too close to the barrier and to the dirt on the outside. And that dirt really makes you want to slide out into the barriers and make you want to hit them. But yeah, I qualified 9th. I have to say, these times that you see up there, they're very unofficial. Those times are a combination of a GPS app that I use that we might talk about later, and just the duration of the lap as recorded by the camera. I can set a frame as I cross the line for each lap, and I can measure how long it took on the video. But if you look at these times and you got a printout of the session times from Pat's Acres timing equipment, they would be not too far off, but they're usually, they can be as much as like a 1/10 or 2/10 off, which isn't great. I'm hoping next time to be a little more diligent about getting the proper times off of them, the printouts. Now you see me, I just let that guy by. I'm pretty sure that's Harv. He's an interesting character. He races in a life preserver, a boat life preserver. And it helps him stay a little more stuck in the seats, which of course are not fitted to us. So you'll see over the course of this video a number of people that race with things in the seats like foam pads to help them stay a little more snugly in the seat. I really should do that. You can go to Home Depot and I think somebody told me that you could get a foam pad for like $5, and I really should do that because you do kind of slide around in the seats a little bit, and it's not great. But the reason I let him by is, of course, this is a qualifying session. This is not a racing session, and Harv is typically faster than I am. and there's no reason to hold him up, and there's no reason to slow myself down trying to stay in front of him. And what you'll see here, in fact, is that this is a group of people that are densely packed enough that it's not worth the effort to try and pass them as though this were a racing session. So instead, I let them go. I let a couple people behind past me, and I'm hoping to find a gap where if I let them out far enough, and if there's nobody coming up too closely behind me, that I can have this gap of free track where I can put in a good lap. Now, it was a nice thought, and I stand by the decision, but as noted earlier, my best lap actually came on lap 2 anyway. And as you see here, my efforts to find a gap were not all that successful. I caught up to somebody anyway. So again, I'm just trying to keep my tires warm as I let people go in front of me, and as I keep looking behind me to try and find enough space behind me to put in a good lap. And I just didn't really succeed all that well. I don't know why there's so many people going off the track right now. There's a lot of dust and dirt flying everywhere. I also don't know why that person dove into the pits, but there we go. So that gave me a little bit of a gap. But yeah, as you can see, 53-54 for this lap, it really wasn't great. I'm really mostly hoping to go over this footage in the future, looking for basically the things not to do to have a good qualifying, because this wasn't it. Qualifying ninth in this event, it's not just that it's not a great place, but passing people on this track isn't easy, and the melee that you find yourself in turn 1, you just have such a high probability of just getting punted off in turn 1. You really want to stay out of that. Now, if you qualify well, if you qualify, first through fourth or something like that, you're going to have some aggressive people around you, and that's tough to deal with. But you can have a little bit more confidence that they at least know what they're doing, and that they want to preserve their position as much as you do, and so hopefully they won't do anything too crazy. Can't count on it, but maybe the odds are better. But yeah, this session really wasn't great. So now I should mention that there's a good chance, if you're listening to this, that you're already tired of me talking. And I get it. I don't much like my voice either. There's a point later where I hear myself recorded on the GoPro, and I realize, despite how small I am, what a massive, massive dork I am. So, like I said, if you're already tired of me talking, I've linked in the description the no commentary version of this video. So please do, click on that. The chapters are marked as well if qualifying isn't, what you're after. If you just want to get to the races, check the chapter listing below, and you can skip right to the racing, or you can skip right to the version that doesn't have me joining on. But if you do choose to stick around and listen to me jabber over the racing, I'm going to talk about some of the things that happened during the event, and maybe about some of the things that I hope to do with this channel in the future, assuming I don't get bored with it and tired of it, as I do with so many of my side projects and hobbies. But yeah, hopefully we can talk about maybe some of the things coming up and happen during the race. Like that person who didn't take that turn badly. There's a lot of people that take that turn a lot worse. And I don't think I took that turn all that great. I honestly don't know why I had the momentum to pass him. I can only assume that he didn't get on the throttle fast enough. And I have to say that the dirt on the outside of that turn was making me a little bit nervous. These tires are they're a hard compound. And I say that like like I race a lot of different compounds, but you know, they're a rental car tire, and if you get them dirty at all, they really slip and slide around until you go enough distance to get them cleaned off. See, that wasn't too bad, but I am convinced that I'm not taking that turn as well as I could, just because, as we'll see later in some of the racing, there was at least one person that would routinely catch me on the straightaway, and I think it's because he was taking that last hairpin better than I was. I don't think it was all just the draft. That guy that passes me there, I believe that's Mitchell, and he's genuinely fast. My guess is that he may have been about to lap me. Hopefully just because I was letting people go by, looking for a gap. I hope he wasn't about to pass me just on pure pace. He's faster than me, but I hope he's not that much faster than me. Who knows? But that's qualifying over. And let's go check out the times. I didn't get a good high-resolution shot of this screen, but if you look real hard there, you can see me in 9th position. Now I put this clip in here. This is us walking out to the grid. What happens is you get a cart, and the staff put it into the grid position for you. I forgot there weren't that many people in this grid. And then you walk to your cart. And I left it in here partly just because
37, that's me.
You see what an amazing day it was for racing. The sun is low. I don't know. It's the former photography nerd in me coming out that I just love visually how the day looked. Now you see me there wearing sunglasses in the reflection of that screen. I am far too cheap at this point to buy a tinted visor, so instead I wear sunglasses under my helmet. Now in general, I do not look cool enough to pass that off as a look, to pull that look off. But if you only look at my helmet, it kind of works. So anyway, this is the formation lap for the heat race. Now, what's going to happen here is we start it in our qualifying positions. We will do this heat race, and this the finishing position for this race is your starting position for the final. Now, we had enough people here where all the rookies could race in their own heat and final, which was rather nice. We didn't have to contend with the open class and the heavies. We got the track to ourselves, which was rather nice. But you see me here with my insane tire warming skills to make sure that I can get a good turn one. I've deliberately now, there we go, pressed nice and tight against the bumper here for the green flag, and we're off. Nice and tight into turn one. That was not a bad turn one. It was okay. That could have gone worse. That's River 1, what I call River 1, and here we have River 2. We have a lot of people that really don't take River 1 and 2 as well as they could. They lose a lot of time. Oh, on the dirt already. Gonna lose that spot. Thank you very much. Here we have the final hairpin. I do believe I kind of squeezed that guy out, but I don't feel bad about it. That's the trick. You just try not to feel bad about it. Now into turn 1 and 2 here, clearly I'm not taking that turn as fast as I could be. I really need to work on my line and my braking points for 1 and 2. I make up a position there on somebody trying to get by. He tries to take the inside, but the outside is actually a little quicker there. He can carry more momentum. Lose as little as possible through 1 and 2. Somebody dipped a tire. Make sure you don't hit any dirt that they brought up onto the track. You'll lose traction for the exit of River 2. No lift through the carousel there. If you're lifting through the carousel there, you're losing time. These guys battling helps me out. Not enough, but it helps me out. That was a dangerous spot. He was always going to close the door on me there on the second apex of 1 and 2, and I knew it. There was really no way that I could make the pass, but that makes the pass easier. Thank you very much. I'll have that spot as well. I do believe that clobbering the curb there on River 2 is actually a faster line. I don't do it enough. I really need to work on clobbering the curb, keeping up the mid-corner speed without upsetting the kart enough that I go off on the exit of River 2. Here we are again. Turn 1 and 2, just not fast enough. Now, he made the mistake of washing out. He had understeer there, but he did keep the position, so you can't criticize him. That one there, that's a mistake, and he does let me by. And we actually start a bit of a long-term relationship in this race, as you'll see with him in that corner. We'll go back and forth a little bit. And what we're going to see again is it doesn't feel like I took that last hairpin badly, but the guy that passed me last time, I think it's the next lap, he overtakes me into 1 and 2. He almost did that time, I'm pretty sure, because of the way that I'm taking that hairpin. It's not fast enough. Got me even before they hit. And see, because he took it better, I don't have the momentum, even with a little bit of a draft, to get him. And I have to say, I really started to just feel bad for this guy, because clearly the kart was not working with him on that corner. You know, obviously as a driver, you need to try and adapt to the personality of your kart in any particular corner. But he was just having a real tough time with that corner in particular in his kart, because it seemed like the other corners were fine, and I believe he overtakes me into 1 and 2 here. There he is. Now there's a a good argument to be made that I need to work on my defensive driving. I could have easily placed my cart in a better position to hold him off. There he goes again. You know, see, and I give him a hand signal because I did kind of feel bad that I constantly was overtaking him. And the truth is, by going back and forth like this, we're holding each other up. And I do make the decision at some point, and I don't know if it's here or if it's on the next lap, but I make the decision that I'm not going to overtake him anymore. And it turns out to be the right decision, as we'll find out later, and as I found out directly talking to another driver who was behind us, watching us go back and forth like this. Actually, I forgot I overtook him into one like that. I was rather pleased with that. Lost it though. Let's see if he does it again. Not so bad. I think about here is where I've made the decision that I'm not going to keep going back and forth with him. And like I said, I talked to the driver who was behind us, watching us go back and forth, and watching us back one another into him. And he was hoping that we were going to keep it up, because if we had battled for much longer, he was going to join us for this position, and it would have been a real mess. I could have lost, more positions than just this one that I lost to him. Now, what there wasn't much hope of was like trying to work together to get the next position. This track doesn't lend itself real well, I don't think, to working together to catch the pack in front. And you see me bump him there. I've decided not to overtake him, but the other thing is that the people in front of us were just too far in front. You can see that there's not anybody really visible in front of us. We weren't going to catch anybody. Now, one thing to note as we get onto the straightaway here is how low the sun is there. It was genuinely hard to see at some points because of how bright the sun was, and I'm glad I wore glasses because it was really getting very bright at some points. You can see like the reflectiveness of the racetrack. It was, if anything, it was worse than it looks like in the GoPro. So I mean, as pretty a day as it was to be racing, and it really looks great in this footage. It was actually kind of hard to see sometimes. So that's the checkered flag for the rookie heat race. And as you can see by how far in front of me that other driver was, it seems like either I got slower in the second part of the race or he got faster, but either way, I just didn't seem to have anything for him. So really, you know, not holding him up and not holding both of us up really seemed like the right decision. And we could both get on with our races and not lose a position to some of these other racers coming up. This is kind of a funny incident right here. I don't know why you would do that. There's nothing about that spin that makes any sense, but I don't know, you do you. And let's go look at the time. And I'm Kart 37, so if you pause those times, you'll see that I made up positions from 9th up to 6th. But we're going to transition now to some footage that one of the other racers gave me. This is footage that a guy named Tim gave me, and thanks Tim if you're watching, we appreciate it. But this is his GoPro from the last League night session, and what you'll see is that green arrow is me. I believe I had qualified 3rd or 4th for the final, and that's also me. I got punted off. Good times. And at this point, my wheel is making a thud sound as it rotates. And my day was done. The cart was not drivable. I had to go into the pits and retire the car, as they say, if you watch too much F1. But here I am in 6th. Unfortunately, I'm on the outside of the formation now, which is really not the favored spot. I don't know if you would necessarily want to lose a position to get on to the inside. I can imagine somebody trying it. If you were to, you know, be able to know with enough certainty what position you were in. It's really hard to tell when you're on the track. You know, if you're not 1st or 2nd, I think it can be kind of difficult to tell where you're at. That screeching sound is me deliberately locking up the brakes. These are rear brakes only, of course, in these carts, but I'm deliberately locking them up, as you can see me slamming my foot into the brake pedal, just to try and generate as much heat as I can, because especially for, you know, that turn 1 to start, I don't want the rear end coming around on me. I believe that's Mitchell up in 1st and Harv in 2nd there on the right. I've got my nose firmly planted into the back bumper of 4th place there. And as we go into turn 1, what we see is I'm immediately wider than I should be, because I've started to overtake 4th position there, but it means that I immediately wash out and lose a bunch of places on the inside. It really could have gone a lot worse than it did. I didn't lose as many positions as I could have, and I didn't get spun there on that crest turn, which was nice. The guy on the inside there, I gave plenty of room on the inside of River 1 so I don't spin him out or get spun out by him. So that start wasn't great. It could have gone a lot worse, though. That was almost in the barriers. I started to get the right tires into the dirt, and that got nervous. I got nervous there for a second. If you look in the reflection, you can see my glasses are now off. After the rookie heat, the open class heat went, and so we've had time for the sun to go down now, and now it's not nearly so hard to see. I feel like the carousel right there is one of the better turns that I do. I seem to make up time on a lot of people there. This guy in particular, that last hairpin is not my best turn, but I do seem to be making up time on him, which is nice. And down the inside we go. Thank you very much. Now, if you ask me, I think I got spun around, and you can rewind it if you want and listen for the tap. I think I got tapped on the back bumper, and I got spun around, and it's not a great feeling. Again, if you rewind it, I do get hit basically broadside by one of the people behind me, but again, I think I got tapped on the back bumper, and really getting tapped in the back in one of these carts while you're mid-corner, you're almost guaranteed to go around. So I think I got punted. That's my story. That's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it. Took that one way too wide, washed out really bad there. Not a good move to be trying to shove your face up the inside of another cart on River 1. So back down. Now that one, he made just a slight mistake there. If you look at it, his rear end goes a little bit loose. I believe he got his tires in the dirt a little bit on the exit of that hairpin, and that's just enough momentum to let me by. It's such a small mistake, but it lets me by. Now, I do believe at this point, I'm actually liking the way the cart is going. Now, if you listen to the tire squeal on some of these corners, I'm not understeering real bad. The rear end's not coming out, but there's just enough tire squeal to keep heating the tires. I'm really liking the way the cart is working right now. That was a little understeery, but it wasn't too bad. This guy does get by. Now this guy actually is pretty quick. I don't feel too bad getting beat by him for the moment. I did not do that hairpin well, dude. You saw the oversteer there. It wasn't great. Human DRS there, tuck your head in. And again, just not great. Too much speed into that corner and wash out on the oversteer. Or not wash out on the understeer, sorry. Now this one, when he's fully alongside like that, you know, that's fine. But he doesn't get to keep the position because he goes a little bit long on the exit, and he ends up losing the position, and right there nearly slams the door on me. I actually did have to back out, and I think I applied just a little bit of brake to keep from having him come across the front of the cart. And what you see here is I've just lost all of that momentum He really gets away from me there. Now, I don't blame him for closing the door on me. That's the racing line there, so it's my responsibility to avoid the contact. You know, that's racing. Neither one of them was taking that turn as quickly as they could have, and I kept having to back out of it to avoid contacting them mid-quarter and possibly taking us both out. Really, it's the driver in front of Blackshirt here that is holding up him, and in turn holding up me. Hopefully he gets by him on this one. He does. I almost get there, but he closes the door. And there, with that dispute, I'm through. And this releases both Blackshirt and myself. Yeah, it didn't feel great to put that turn. So in the future, by the way, I also cannot see what lap number I'm on, and I'm hoping in the future as I get better at editing these videos that I'll have things like a lap counter up there and maybe a countdown and you know, that kind of thing. But for now, it really was a little bit of a pain in the butt to put the lap times up there, so I decided to just kind of quit with what I had. And just get this thing out there, and then in the future it should take less time to get to at least this level, and I can put a little more effort into in the lap counters and timers and that kind of thing. Now, as I go over this crest turn on the left, there's this curbing on the right, and you'll see how much curb I take there. I really don't think I see a lot of other drivers taking that much curb, and it's not real clear to me why. I wish I knew if there was something I was missing about why you shouldn't take that curb. But at this point, I really feel like the Kart is working for me pretty well. I feel like I've got my head around how to drive it pretty well, and everything's nice and in the range. And this is, in fact, the fastest lap. So I'll just be quiet while we watch it. To me, what's interesting about that lap is that it really feels like most of those corners came out really well, except for River 2, which I didn't love. But most of those corners, the car was working really well. It wasn't oversteering or understeering, had the right amount of tire squeal, and yet it was a 51:10, which to me is not a fantastic lap time. Anything in the 51 range is, I mean, it's not terrible, but it's not that great a lap time. So it's kind of interesting to me that it felt and looked as good as it did, and yet wasn't all that fast. And here we have the last lap. There's the red flag. I really don't know. I think I'm lapping back markers at this point. I don't think I'm passing any of these for position. But I'm pretty sure that I end this final in 9th position, which to me is a recovery drive from having been punted as I was. But thanks very much for watching this. Have a look at the non-commentary version to avoid my rambling, and I hope to see you guys next time. Thanks.